Hey everybody, this is Brad Bruce, and I'm here with
Jace Marsiglia.
and you're listening to the 5195 podcast.
You are, and we have got a good one for you today. We're sitting here with one of my favorite composers, Mr. Harry Manfredini. Thank you for joining us today here at Dark Delicacies.
Hello.
How you doing?
He got very professional.
Very professional. Suddenly I got professional.
I know. I
Yeah.
was like, oh no, I have to up my game
Now that that's out of the way, we
Right.
can go very unprofessional. Because
Okay. All right.
because we're unprofessional.
we're not great.
We're not good at what we do. We just don't want real jobs.
Well, that's the goal.
yeah.
Well,
That's it.
That's the format.
And that is the format. We're just bullshitting.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So you've got the right guy.
So we were thinking, instead of just being like, what got you into the business and all this other stuff, we're big on aha moments. Did you have that moment where you were either watching a movie, listening to a record, then you were like, this is what I need to be doing?
Oh, of course.
Was there like a specific...
Of course.
Yeah?
Well, I can't give you the specific, but I can tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I started, you got to remember I'm Italian, okay?
Same.
So
God, I got
when
two
you're
of them.
Italian,
I know, we're
right after you're born, somebody hands you an accordion.
exactly.
So
Mine was a mandolin.
I think I was 4 or 5 or something like that, and I started playing the accordion. And I had my influences, my familial influences. My father was a huge opera fan,
Yeah?
and we had Puccini playing all the time.
No kidding.
And my brother was into progressive jazz, so I grew up on Stan Kenton and stuff like that. So it's a very strange bedfellows, but at the same time, really not, both, great music.
Yeah.
So, and then my mom and I watched a lot of movies when I was a little kid, 5 years old, 6 years old. I was normally late for school every day because I was up watching the midnight movie.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Same. That's very similar.
I had to stay home, give the other kids a chance anyway. So, so that was.
They need that little hour head start.
Anyway, but I can tell you this: that from that time, just watching with that musical background, because I felt the Puccini, I felt the energy of the Stan Kenton and the power of those screaming trumpets and huge brass, and then watching the movies, I felt the power of the music. I mean, we're talking Corn Gold and stuff, Bernard Herrmann movies.
Yeah,
that,
of course.
that were on television. You got to remember, when I was six years old, television was just, we had that kerosene thing that you had to pour in to get the television to work.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I mean, so I watched that, and this is so it's a combination of all those things.
Yeah.
That said to me, I want to write film music.
Okay.
Now you got to remember, I was just learning music.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Was there a period where you were just like, I want to be a musician, and then the movie thing came on top? Or
No.
was it-
Actually, the movie thing came first.
Really? Okay.
And here's the thing. I tell this a few times, like when I do lectures at colleges and
Sure.
stuff like that. And this is absolutely true. I used to imagine or dream. I don't know whether I imagined or dreamed it, but I imagined and dreamt that I had a special magical keyboard. Because we also just got a piano in the house, so I goofed around on the piano.
Sure.
But this was a magic piano that no matter what I wanted it to be, it would be like, even if it was like conga drums or something, anything,
Yeah.
no matter what, I could make that. And then I imagined that the movie was up on the wall. I could see the movie projected on the wall, and I could play to the movie, just sit there and play. And literally, I sit in a room today, where I have a magic piano that can make any sound I want it to make. And there's a giant television up there that I look at, and I write the music to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
how funny.
It's sort of weird that was what I imagined and dreamed and thought I'd want to have happen. And that's literally what happened.
It is.
It's
I mean,
literally
that's-
what I do. But like, you asked me if there was a moment,
Sure.
and but there isn't a specific moment. But let me go back to my lecture as psychologist, and usually they're like it's a music class, or sometimes it's film production. We get like a mix of film students and then like filmmakers,
Sure.
writers, things like that. Anyway, and I said, I start out the lecture, the first thing I say to these music people, I says, we're all sitting here and we're all studying our butts off here, trying to learn about music. We're trying to learn how to hear how this happened and who wrote this and analyze and learn all kinds of chords and scales and all that stuff. Anyway, and I said, somehow or other, every one of us in here had a day or a moment where music touched us. And I said, I want you to go back in time. I said, for me, it's a lot longer than you, but I mean, go back in time and find that moment where you went, oh, it could have been for some of you, it could be a Beatles song, or it could be a film score, or who knows, maybe it even could be an opera, or it could be anything. But just the music just hit you, and you felt something that you never felt before, and it took over you.
Yeah.
And I said, I want you to go back to that moment. And I said, that's the moment that you grab onto and you never let it go. And I said, because you're going to start writing, and no one, I said, you're going to go back to this moment. You didn't know what a scale was. You didn't even know what a chord was. You didn't know orchestration. You didn't know counterpoint. You didn't know anything.
Right.
All you know is that, holy smoke, it hit me.
Yeah.
All right? And so I said, that's the moment that you cherish, and you never let that go. And when you start writing now, sure, we all have scales, we all have chords, we all have tonality, and 8 bazillion things that you learn at school.
Yeah.
But I want you to move that feeling to the number one position, and then tell me, and I says, and I'm going to prove it to you today at this lecture.
Yeah.
Okay? So I said, I say, okay. I said, it's so great that we have these producers, directors, and writers here, because they don't know shit about music. Okay? They don't know shit. But let me tell you something. They feel.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing. It's that feeling. And if you don't deliver that feeling, then you're not going to make it.
Right.
It's the feeling. People don't go to a movie to find out how much you know about harmony,
Right.
or anything. If they don't laugh or scream or cry or just feel something,
Yeah.
that's what they're planking down their money for.
Yes.
And I said, and it's up to you to deliver that musically. That's why you got to live in that moment that where the music touched you.
Exactly. It's an incredibly powerful thing. Because Brad and I were talking the other day about how I even have songs that I call my no-fly songs,
Yeah.
because they will break me down just emotionally.
Right.
Because they resonate with an experience or a loss or something.
Exactly. They touched you.
But then there's...
But the music touched you.
It's the music.
And I don't know how many scales do you know?
None.
All right,
Zero.
see what I'm talking about?
But it hits you right
But
in the
that's
chest.
exactly right what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So anyway, I just to go a little bit further in the lecture,
Mm-hmm.
I go, okay. I said, I'm going to play a melody, okay? And I play A, B, C. La, ti, do. Okay, like that. I said, okay, I know it's not much of a melody. And I said, okay. I said, now I'm going to play some chords with that. So typically I play F major, G7, C. I know this means nothing to you, but that's like the absolute bread and butter.
It's basic 101.
Music 101.
Yeah.
Blah, ti, do. Okay. And I play it. And I say all the music people, you're all going, oh, that's 4-5-1. Those are the names of those. They
Yeah.
call those chords 4-5-1. I said, right. And I said, okay, let me tell you what they heard, or let's let them. What did you hear? I know you didn't hear 4-5-1 because
Right.
you have no idea what the hell that is, right? What did you hear? And they said, we heard, and you'll get answers like correctness. It's correct. I feel like it's nice. I feel that it's, I said, you see, they felt the music. You heard the music.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I said, same melody. La da da, la da da. Okay. So this time, instead of F, G, C, I play F major, B diminished, C minor. And it's dark and ugly.
Yeah.
I said, what did you guys hear? You heard, this is what you learned in school. You learned F major. Oh, that was the diminished 7. That was the one chord minor.
Right.
I said, right, yeah, that's what you heard. What did you guys hear? They said, ooh, it's scary, it's dark, it's ugly. And I said, what if the lyrics were Jack loves Jill? Jack loves Jill? Declarative sentence.
Right.
But if I played it that way, it's like, Jack loves Jill.
Right.
And then I play it another way, and I play it with an augmented chord at the end, and it's like, Jack loves Jill? It's like, what?
Well, it's communicative.
It's communicative in the colors of that harmony.
Yes.
They're feeling the color. You guys are listening to what the chords are.
Right.
And this is what you're learning to do. But like I said, you've got to move all of that stuff that you're learning second and go and listen to music like you don't know jack shit about what's going on. And that's when you'll feel it.
Right.
Anyway, I could go on, but I do other, and then I keep changing harmony, minor 7/9 chords, major 7/9 chords, and every one of those, it's the same 3 notes, but every one of them feels different.
Right. They're just adjusted
Right.
to a different tone.
It's a different color, and you're just, and they hear sexy, they hear all kinds of things. Whereas, we always listen to music like, gee, I wonder what that is.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's doing there. What he's doing is saying something.
So you've got half the class who's got
see
the
what happens
technical-
when you ask one question.
That's what we're banking on.
the point.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you got
That's
one
what we
class
needed.
who's doing the nuts and bolts, and the other one is feeling.
Right.
You're right.
That's why, see, from your very first question that you asked me, when did you feel it? And I said, not only did I know that when I felt it, because that's where I live now.
Yeah.
I don't live. I mean, I know plenty of chords. I know plenty of that stuff. I know orchestration. I know all that stuff.
Yeah.
But people, you're going as a film composer. Okay. Another part of the lecture. Film composition is about 70 to 80% dramatist.
Okay.
You're the dramatist. You're telling the story.
Yes.
You're doing that. This is why you don't hear, heavy classical scores anymore, because they're just too much for a movie, unless they're used as an example of something, or it happens to be a classical piece. They used to use it a long time ago, but it doesn't really deliver the goods the way something that's really honed to the picture.
Sure.
So what I'm saying is that you have to tell the story. And these guys shot a picture. He wrote a picture. He directed it. Somebody acted in it. And they put their brains and their heart and all these things into it. And then they hand it to you, the composer, and you're going to put some special sauce on that.
Yeah.
On that film. And that special sauce has to do with feelings. And if you don't live where those feelings are, you're going to just start writing college exercises.
Manufactured
music, elevator music,
Sure.
So you've got to find that emotion. What is it that they're trying to say, and how do I help them say that? Sometimes And anyway, and there's that. But then there's the audience who comes. The audience doesn't know anything about music.
No.
But if they don't feel, if you didn't deliver the feel, the musical part of the feel, then you failed. So that's why you've always got to live in that spot where music touched you.
Yep.
And that's why I always tell them, I said, you got to go back to that place. That's where you want to live.
It's what we do when we write. I mean,
Exactly.
everybody has that feeling in their chest, that warmth where you're like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And this is why it feels right. Yeah, it's a very universal
and
feeling
the
for
more,
creatives.
And the more stuff you read, the more you start, just like, once again, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
We could do it with writing. We could do it even with directing. There are techniques. There's camera angles. There's lighting. There's trombone shots. There's all kinds of things that you can do. Those are tools.
Yeah.
And you use those tools to evoke the feeling that you're trying to get. I mean, and sometimes, and hopefully that works for you. You've got to find that when you're a writer or something. I mean, you read Poe and you go like, wow, man, what a way with words. Did I go to school? I mean,
Right.
this guy's great. Or you read another guy who's short, choppy sentences, and then all at once, you see that as a technique to evoke what you're trying to do in a verbal way.
Sure.
So it's all there, and that's what I'm saying is that writers, directors, I mean, they have feelings, but like I said, they may not know anything about music.
No.
And hopefully, if they know a little, that's sort of scary. But going one more thing is that, in the film business now these days, there's this thing called the dreaded temp score.
Uh-huh.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
I have a question about temp. Like, has a filmmaker ever brought you a film with a temp track or their idea and you've changed their mind?
Not really changed their mind, but first of all, I'm one of the people who doesn't mind a temp score.
Okay.
Some people hate it. And there are some times when I hate it because it's like you're asking me for something that just cannot be done.
Right.
At least, not with what you're paying me.
Yeah.
So is it basically a temp score is basically telling you, the composer, this is the mood we're going?
That's the tone.
But you see,
yeah.
and if it's the guy who made the movie, I mean, he's, like I said, he's not without talent. He's not without feeling. He hears this. And what I have to try to do is go like, what is it about this music that he really likes? That's really the essence of it. And I've had people who we call it married to the temp score, where you almost absolutely have to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And whether you can or not remains to be seen. But and I've walked off a couple of those.
Yeah,
Sure. They just wouldn't budge.
Well, it's just I just go like, I can't do Hans Zimmer a $2 million recording session.
Sure.
And I years ago I walked into a movie. What the hell was it called? It was a kickboxer movie, Kickboxer 3 or something. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, and it was an all-in picture, and it was all no players, just out of the box.
Okay.
Just me and my toys, right? So I walk in, and there's a temp score, So I'm like, oh, cool, this is great. So the first piece was the opening credits to Total Recall by Jerry Goldsmith.
Wow.
Okay.
Followed by what's the cop movie? The something cop, Basil Pallador's score. RoboCop. Yeah. Second one was RoboCop. The third one was another Jerry Goldsmith cue from.
These are
I was gonna say
these are very specific to these films.
Well, no, but I mean,
not just that, but someone's a Verhoeven fan.
Well, anyway, I'm going like, wow, yeah, that's really nice. I said, do you realize that opening credits to Total Recall. Just that cue probably costs more than what you're going to pay me to do the whole film. It's just, I mean, there's a chorus, there's a gigantic orchestra, and that piece is harder than hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
And they didn't just read it. They probably rehearsed it a few times.
Of course.
Big orchestra. And I says, and then you throw in RoboCop. It's another one. I said, yes, I'll do absolutely the best I can. But I said, I hope you don't think it's going to be that, because it can't be done.
Right.
Maybe these days it could be done slightly better. This was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I mean, but I like temp scores because it's a chance for the director, especially, to say something without saying anything musical, because he doesn't know.
Right.
But I really like this.
Yeah.
I really like this. I did a movie for Jim Glickenhaus, Time Master. And he had a piece that he loved, and it was Ennio Morricone. And I can't remember what movie it was from. But Time Master was about a young boy who he's an orphan, and he goes through time to try to find. He keeps finding his parents in different time periods.
Yeah.
And anyway, and he says, God, I really love this piece, and I'm listening to it. And then I said, I think I know what you like about this. And he goes, what? I said, you hear that trumpet there? I said, that's what we call an offstage trumpet. In other words, it's not a trumpet right in front of the microphone. He's like off in the distance. It sounds like it's coming from far away. And I says, I think you hear that trumpet as like a call from the past. He goes, that's exactly what it is. And I said, yeah. I said, I love that. It's a call from the past. I said, you are going to have that offstage trumpet. It's going to be great. And if you go on my website, you can hear the opening credits to Time Master, and you'll hear that offstage trumpet. But and I said, the other thing that I want to do, though, is this. I think I want to have some music going forwards and some music going backwards. Like you know what, when you play something backwards, what it sounds like?
It's got an unearthly feel to it.
Well, the accent is always at the end instead of at the front.
Yep.
Like that. I said, I want to have stuff going backwards and I want to have stuff going forwards. And, but at the same time, that trumpet is floating over the top.
Wow.
It's ever present.
Yeah, ever present. He goes, oh man, that's so cool. Anyway.
And that's because you feel the music.
It's because you feel and not only did I feel, but he felt it.
But he didn't even know it until you pointed it out to him.
No, yeah, but he felt it.
Yeah,
he knew what he liked.
Right,
he couldn't put a name on it.
But you picked it out.
He didn't know it was an offstage trumpet.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
All he knew was like, wow, that sounds like I'm getting a feeling from that. And that's. Hello, we're back to the question one.
It's amazing, though, isn't it?
Now, is that thing on, or do I have to say all this again?
I got to hit record. Can we do it again?
We're having fun here, folks.
What did you start out like playing? What instrument?
Accordion.
Yes. Really?
Yeah, I started out playing accordion, and my teacher, who was not only an accordion player, but he was a pianist and played woodwinds too. And he said, Harry, he goes, you should learn to play the saxophone or the clarinet, because when you get to high school, you'll be in the band.
Yeah.
And I go, cool. So anyway, so I started playing some clarinet, and then eventually I was playing saxophone. Unfortunately, the high school I went to didn't have a band. So here I was, but my friends, and this is where I started, I don't know, as a musician. Mm-hmm. I mean, I started playing, and we had a little band when I was like 16 years old. Mm-hmm. But I was playing probably you guys don't know about this because you see it in movies. I was playing record hops, what they call record hops.
Okay.
Where like some high school or something, sock hop, they call them sock hops.
yeah.
Because you couldn't use your shoes on the basketball court. Anyway, and the reason they called them record hops because somebody had a record and they wanted to promote it, so they'd come to Chicago. Sam Cooke, let's say, okay? Sam Cooke would come to Chicago with his latest single. He'd have a box of them, and he'd hand them out to kids at the record hop. And we used to play them. We had a live band and records.
Yeah.
So, I got to play with Sam Cooke and people like, hey, man, you want to do a tune? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Right. So we would do a tune with Sam Cooke or Jackie DeShannon or whoever, whoever came that week.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I was playing 4 gigs a week
That's amazing.
of record hops,
Yeah.
So I got to be pretty good on the saxophone.
Sure.
And then when I first went to study music at DePaul University, I was, you find lucky things that happen in your life. And so I get there to DePaul University, and you got to remember, what I knew was the accordion. I knew harmony, but pop harmony.
Sure.
I knew jazz saxophone, and I knew Stan Kenton, and I knew Puccini.
Wow.
Okay, that's what I knew. As far as I was concerned, Stan Kenton was the end of music. Like, there's nothing wilder than that.
Yeah.
And when I got to DePaul, the first day there, they gave you a little test. And I went, I don't know any of that shit,
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to learn that. For example, I didn't know, this isn't going to mean much to you, but whenever I thought of a C chord, the C was in the bass, and then there was a C chord. I didn't know that the other notes, or even a completely different note, could be in the bass while the C chord. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I thought Stan Kenton was the end of it. So at DePaul, when I went there, if you were a jazz musician, that was like, at the bottom of the rung was serial killer and then jazz musician. That was the next thing. That's about where we were, it was strictly.
That level of respect.
Yeah, strictly classical, and that was it,
Yeah.
But I managed to, I don't know why these guys liked me, but I made about 4 or 5 friends, and they just started to inundate me with Stravinsky and Bartók and all this, contemporary music, and my mind just like exploded.
Wow.
And I got this is so funny. So the first day in band, I'm playing the saxophone, and I wasn't a very good reader because I played by myself and I played by ear. So they handed out this music to play in the band, and I'm sitting there, man, look at this. There's French horns, and there's everything here. This is really cool, So we start to play, and holy crap, I could barely play the piece. So the band director stops and looks over at me, and he goes, "Could you play that section right there?" And I go, "Oh no." So I play it, and you got to remember, I'm going to go to another story then. I had just gotten this Stan Getz sound, like I was cool.
Yeah.
I was cool. I had so I played it, and he looked over at me and he just went, "Oh no." Like he put down the baton, lit up a cigar, and left.
Oh my God.
It's like, oh my God. And I just went, oh no.
You got the guy from Whiplash.
Well, no, this
Not
was
that bad.
No, not even close. This guy was a wonderful guy, and he loved me to death.
Yeah.
And he says to me, "Harry," he says, maybe you could conduct. How would you like to conduct? Just, I said, shit, yeah, I want to conduct. Because, I mean, once they showed me all this other music, I spent almost all my time in the music library with the score, watching notes go by. I mean, just like,
Oh, wow.
Wait, music doesn't have to be only in 4. It could be in 5 and 3 and 7, and it could change. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just going out of my mind. Anyway, and then,
awesome.
so then, second week of DePaul, I go for my first music lesson because you had to, and I was a saxophone. So I walked in with my saxophone, and the teacher was there, and he was classical, legitimate teacher. Okay. So he says to me, he says, well, play something, just play anything,
Yeah.
So I ripped through a chorus of, I don't know if it was Green Dolphin Street or something. Anyway, I didn't play, but I didn't even play the melody. I was just playing around with it and stuff like that. And he looks at me and he goes, well, you have an excellent sense of rhythm. And I went, thanks, thanks, man.
Cool.
He goes, that mouthpiece has got to go, and you got to change your reed, and you want to sound more like this. And he picked up his saxophone and played, and I never heard anything so awful in my. It wasn't awful. It was just classical saxophone.
Right.
Huge vibrato, gigantic full. I mean, it was a great. And I went, oh my. He goes, yeah, you want to sound like this. And I'm going, I just learned to get the sound that I wanted, and not that. You can't, I can't do that. So the next day I became a percussion major because he said I had a good sense of rhythm.
Yep.
So for the 4 years I was there, I studied, and fortunately the guy who was the percussion teacher was a jazzer. So I got to play like drum set, I got to play marimba and mallets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I escaped, and I was able to play the saxophone the way I wanted to play the sax.
So it's always been music your whole life, nothing else. Just music, right?
And you just couldn't consume enough. It
Yeah,
sounded like,
it's always been music for you.
It's always been music.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, I could hit in baseball. I could hit the ball. I just couldn't run. Yeah.
Sure.
I wasn't a very good runner. I mean, I hit my biggest. I'm trying to think of which one of these is more embarrassing. I hit a line drive to center field. I mean, bam! I hit it hard.
Yeah.
Right over the pitcher, right over second base, into center field. And this is 90-foot bases. This is not.
Oh, wow.
This is serious.
Yeah.
This isn't a sandlot.
Yeah, this is not sandlot. This is
Yeah.
regular baseball. Anyway, it was fat. Anyway, the whole thing. Whack! I hit that thing, and I go like, yeah, I nailed that sucker.
Yeah.
So I'm jaunty jolly on my way to first base, and the center fielder throws me out at first base.
From a line drive?
From a line drive, he caught it at one hop, and he's watching me going to first base.
So you weren't hustling.
No, I wasn't. Hustling was a long way from that.
He's like, yeah, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to play music.
I was bustling, Anyway, he threw me out at first base, and you want to go back to the dugout after being thrown out at first
and never
base
come out?
from center field.
The coach said, but you got a lot of good rhythm.
Yeah, you've got excellent rhythm.
Yeah,
I said,
tapping your feet.
I really timed that hit.
That was good stuff. That was a good crack.
And another time, I hit another one, a line drive over to third base, and this is back. We didn't have walls or anything. You couldn't hit the ball over the wall.
Right.
There was no wall.
Yeah.
But if you hit a line drive over to third baseman and the left fielder was over a little, I mean, I hit one that just kept going. You know? I'm telling you, I got to third base, and that was as far as I could run. I just stopped at third base. I just
They're like, bring it home. You're like, no,
I need a
shut
runner.
up.
I'm cool. I'm good here. Somebody else can knock me in.
Got your hands on your knees like, oh, shit.
Holding my stomach.
This is the This is the pinnacle of my baseball days.
The
This
coach
is the greatest
says,
day of my life.
he goes, I don't mind you running like you've got a piano on your back, but I think you stopped and played it somewhere between
Yeah.
second and third.
He was playing the organ.
He's just, "Well, why don't you hit the organ up on top?"
Right, yeah. Rum, bum, bum, bum.
So apparently, you still get excited for music when you're scoring and stuff. It never.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
such a good thing. That's
Absolutely.
so amazing.
That's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's never been work,
It's
right?
it's the only time it's when it's work is when I don't have enough time.
Sure.
But that makes it's just like, oh man, they need it by this, and if I just had more time, I could think about it a little more and finesse it, or get it, because you got to remember you're doing all of it. You're orchestrating, you're mixing, you're doing all sorts of things.
Yep.
That's the only time it's I'm not. It's the gig.
It's the way it is, but it's still
the way it is.
It's still
the
within
gig.
that wheelhouse. It's still within what you love.
Yeah.
So,
no question about it.
It's just these are the breaks.
Do you have a
sometimes,
process? Do you is there music you listen to or things you?
I try to stay ahead of what's the latest thing. I mean, like right now, you guys know melodies and stuff in scores, except maybe for John Williams and a few other. The score, the advent of sound effects and what you can do with sound has kind of like pushed the music back in the pecking order, I guess is the term.
Do you think it's a little more experimental today? Like they're
Well,
trying.
it just becomes more ambient and more atmospheric,
Sure.
and not necessarily because it's just it sort of works its way in with the effects. I mean, that's what I seem to notice.
Yeah.
I notice it a lot on television, and I notice it on like cable movies and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I mean, I have a hard time doing that, but I do it, and I've learned to do it. But for some reason or other, I still go a little bit more narrative,
Sure.
and less ambient. I try to do a little mix of each, but we're back to lectures again. But this is a lecture where people ask that kind of a question, like And I said, there's a great scene in. I'm pretty sure it's The Man with the Golden Arm. It's Frank Sinatra. Is that right?
Yeah.
He walks into a seedy hotel, okay, and you could tell it's a seedy hotel because outside the window there's a neon sign that says HOT is missing, and the E is kind of going on and off, and L at the bottom is okay.
It's not very well kept.
Yeah, anyway, so there's that, and then he walks into this decrepit room and goes over to a dresser, and he takes his watch off and stuff and puts everything on the dresser. And he, of course, lights up a cigarette because everybody in every movie in those days, when you walked in a room, you poured a drink and lit up a cigarette. And then he walks over to this really decrepit bed that's got a 2-inch mattress on it and springs, and he lays down on the bed, and there's that. And there's music under this whole scene. And the music is evoking the fact that it's a pretty sad, decrepit, unsavory kind of situation.
Sure.
And I said, well, I don't know if you remember this scene, but I remember it. And I said, if you saw that scene now, I said, you would hear the door open. It would probably creak and then close. And then outside, you'd hear that E going, that kind of a sound. You would hear that E doing that. And then you'd hear him walk every step across the floor, and you hear him put every single thing on that dresser. And then when he struck the match, you would hear the sulfur and the burn. And then when he lit the cigarette, you would hear the paper start on fire.
Yeah.
And then he'd walk back across the floor, and he'd get into this bed, and it would just be a whole series of creaks. And you have
A bunch of coils. And
coils and all that stuff. And I said it would be extremely realistic, but I'm not sure if it said anything about the
vibe.
The vibe.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like I mean, so that's what's happened is that, and as we all know, a long time ago, a scene like that, they'd have a camera on a track and rolling, and you'd hear, the film going, we only have so many minutes.
Sure.
And we're rolling across a floor that's probably not that straight, and you'd hear the thing rolling and then you'd hear it go back and all that. And I'm going like, sometimes they just put the music there to cover up the fact of all the camera.
Yeah.
If in fact they shot it with sound.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just a different thing, but the music, I mean, it was perfectly realistic, but I think in some way void of
Emotion?
Emotion.
Sure.
We're back to the word feel.
Feeling.
Yeah.
We're back to feel. I don't know if that's true, but that's sort of like
It's no, I totally see it 100%.
Oh, yeah, you
especially
can- yeah.
nowadays. But it does lead me to my last question. You were talking about ambience.
last question.
It's the last one that I had.
Oh,
For
don't worry.
listener.
I have a bunch of stupid questions.
What
so-
He has stupid
good, I've got
questions.
stupid answers.
But this one was this segues right into it. One of my favorite scores by you is for the movie House, and it's a very peculiar, strange score.
It's a peculiar movie.
It is, and that's what's funny is
Right.
you've got this blend of these low strings and stuff, but then there's moments where it's almost just ambient sound effects and just weird, otherworldly.
Well, it is otherworldly.
It
is.
is.
It not? Yeah.
And it was one of those deals where I always wondered, obviously I'm picturing you at your console and you've got the movie in front of you.
Right.
The scene that comes to mind is Roger Cobb hanging out of his medicine cabinet in like this void of black.
The void, yeah.
And it was...
and the dingbat.
Yes. And it was just one of those deals where I'm like, the noises you hear are so strange and so weird.
Okay.
But I didn't know if...
I got great answers for this.
I hope so. But it's like, I didn't know, was that a moment where you thought, score, maybe not so much here, we can play with this?
I see the smile. I can't wait for this.
I'm telling you, because I mean, seriously, when I
Well,
watch it, it's so unique and cool. But
Well, okay.
I think you're gonna not like his answer.
it's okay.
No, you're going to love my answer.
No, I'm fine with
The
it.
trouble is we got to go back in time.
I'll get the DeLorean.
For a long time, I
to the
fought synthesizers.
Yeah.
I fought them. I said, man, yeah.
Why? Too easy?
Well, I don't know. It seems, you'll excuse the term, it seems synthetic.
Yeah.
No,
But it was so prevalent at
What
the
a great
time.
name, though.
it was. But you see, I write narrative.
Mm-hmm.
But this was, in this situation, it was a perfect chance to utilize a synthesizer.
Sure.
So anyway, at that time I had this thing called an 816 rack. There was a synth that came out called a DX7. It was the synth, and I had that.
Nice.
And then, but the cool thing about this 816 rack was that you could have 8 DX7s all at the same time. And you could separate them, like 1, 2, and 3 would play this, and 4, 5, and then you could get it. And it was like, oh man, this is like Sky King or something.
Did it convert you a little bit? Like, I got a new toy to play with.
It was
here,
a new toy to play with them, and there was a sequencer that designed by somebody who wasn't paying attention, but there was one thing, because it would remember what you played, just like this is before computers.
Yeah.
All right. It would remember what you played. So let's say you had a piece that was 1 minute long and you had a violin part and you played in the violin part.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you could go like, oh, if you made a mistake, there was a little arrow pointing to the left. And if you hit that arrow, it would back up 1 bar, and then you could pick up from where you left off, where you made the mistake.
Sure.
Okay. Unfortunately, right next to that button was 2 arrows pointing to the left. And if you hit that button, it erased everything all the way back to the beginning.
Just wiped it out
Shit.
completely.
Yeah, I'm going like,
Oh, man.
who in their right mind
Yeah.
would put that button right next to the other one.
That button should be like, behind glass for
Wow.
emergency. you
Right,
know.
yes, But anyway, so that was that. Anyway, so getting back to house. Okay. So I had some really cool, there's a lot of DX7 in that movie.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a movie that I know you love, and Romancing the Stone. Mm-hmm. Remember that, the original one?
Yes.
A lot of DX7 in that, too.
Okay.
So, it was everywhere.
It was making its rounds.
It was on every record. It was everywhere. So we come to this scene where he's stuck in the void. I called it the void.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I find a synth that I like, and right now, I don't really have a synth anymore. I have a lot of samples.
Sure.
I have samples of synths. Anyway, but at that time, it was a DX7 and stuff like that. See, because I'm dealing with sound, and the way samples went in those days, and to this day still. Let's say, let that sound right there.
Yeah.
I dropped my phone, okay? You could record just like we actually did record that. Mm-hmm. So literally you could take that sound of that phone, make a little wave file out of it, okay? And then just go to your synth and go to middle C, and when you play middle C, you'll hear this.
Yeah.
Now, if you go up, as you go up on the keyboard, the higher you go, the higher pitch that gets, and it gets shorter and shorter because it's going twice as fast,
Yeah.
4 times. But if you go the other direction, it could go and like all the way down to the bottom of the keyboard. That just could be
It's like
So
a
it's just
rumble.
altering the sound.
altering the sound. It could be just like a horrific rumble.
Yeah.
And all it is a phone.
It's a phone.
Wow.
But you see, so whatever I would find a sound that I would like, I'd go like, wonder what it sounds like up here. Well, that's weird. Oh, that's kind of cool. Listen to that. I didn't bother so much with what it was. I wanted to hear what you could do with it. And the same thing on the bottom. So we come to, there's people have come, guys who know synths go to me like, you go, I can't believe that scene in The Void with William Catt.
Yeah.
He goes, you use there's a sample called Water Garden.
Okay.
I used Water Garden. I used a thing called The Void. It was
It had a
called The
setting?
Void. I'm going like, duh.
You're like, well, that's in.
That's cool. But then for the dingbat, okay, there was a sound that I used earlier, and I've put it in a million movies because it's so cool. And I don't even know the name of it. The DX7 called it Image 12 or Image 13. It was just it was a sound. In the House movie, in that scene where where he's hanging off the cliff and you're looking down.
Yes.
All right. There's a thing just before that cut, you hear, wow, like it's like that.
Yeah.
And my hey Jamie, hey, get him a beer. Will you? Anyway, so anyway, I'm there, and I use that sound. It was great. But when you go up on the top of the keyboard, that roar, which is down here,
Yeah.
when you go up on the top, it goes wee, 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 like a squeaky,
High-pitched.
squeaky sort of thing.
Yeah.
So every time the little dingbat would fly around, I would just go wee, 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 just like.
So
like,
it was the same sound, just
It was the
manipulated.
same sound,
Hilarious.
6 octaves away.
Super cool. Yeah.
Right. But people would come up to me, like guys who had, like a DX7, they go like, I can't believe you scored that with Water Garden, Foom. Oh, and then the other thing was this. Rest his soul, Ron Capone, who was my engineer.
Yeah.
The greatest guy ever. And he would write down like what the sound was, So he had this thing. So we're mixing and I'm going, what the hell is Foom? He goes, foam is the thing that goes, whoa, and then
It's the foam,
it's the foam. And from that point on, we have only called it
The foam.
And I still have it, and I use it all the time.
Wow.
And the same thing with the squeaky. But, you know, but I mean, like, think about that, and think about House 2.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a baby pterodactyl.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm going like, what does a baby pterodactyl sound
Said,
like?
here comes the foom.
Right. Oh yeah, no. There was a foom in there. There's been a foom in just about everything because I like it.
Yep.
Anyway, so I said a baby pterodactyl. You know, who the hell knows what it sounds
Right.
like?
Exactly.
And who knows what a real
Like
pterodactyl?
talk about a curveball you threw
So
me here.
anyway, what I did was I took a bassoon, real low bassoon, like that, and then I took an ocarina, which is a little. You ever see those things? They're called sweet potatoes. They call
No.
it sweet potato. It's a little wind instrument,
Yeah.
and of course it was on a DX7. There was ocarina, so
Sure.
it's kind of a hollowy flute sound, but it's very small.
Okay.
But anyway, I had them both play the same thing together, and it had sort of a wheezing baby, like somebody with a deep voice that was wheezing with a baby sound on top.
Right.
And that became the baby pterodactyl. And there was the worm dog. And
Yeah.
So at what point did you think, I'm just fucking around now? I'm just playing.
that's exactly what you do because
Yeah. It sounds like
because you're trying to get the right feel.
the feel.
It's about the feel, man.
It is about.
Okay, good.
No, I got it. I feel you, buddy.
You feeling me? Well, stop that.
Stop feeling him. Would you stop feeling
I'm
him?
sorry.
We got to finish
I'm going
this.
to get back across the table here.
All right, so
So what are you working on now? You have something coming out?
I just finished a movie called Monster Mash. All the classic monsters in one movie:
Oh, that sounds fun.
Dracula, the Invisible Man, the Wolfman. Who else is in it? Dracula. There's one more.
Creature?
Oh, the Mummy. Mummy. Anyway, so that I just finished that, and right now I'm working on a movie called Solitude, which is it's a movie about a girl, and she's in one of these survivor shows,
Okay.
and she goes out to win the thing, and she's out in the woods, and she's by herself a lot of talking to the camera and stuff like that.
Sure.
But unbeknownst to her, there's a legend. Isn't there always?
There's
a legend?
always a legend.
There's always
There
a
has
legend.
to be a legend.
Well, there's a legend about Indian legend, and it turns out there is a monster in the woods who you rarely see, and actually you don't really see it very much at all. I mean, this movie is more about it's a thing about her and trying to retain her sanity, and she's a kick-ass chick. I mean, you don't go out in the woods by yourself without being kick-ass. So it's pretty good. I really am enjoying this movie a lot.
That's awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Okay.
So what else can I do to help you guys?
Did we didn't bore you?
Sandwiches bore me. I never stopped talking. You asked one question.
I'm glad you did poke me halfway through to wake me up. I was like, oh, he's
You asked me one question.
Well, okay. Well, I have a dumb question.
All right.
Do you collect anything? Are you a collector?
Do you mean like what?
Anything random?
Yes, I have a small collection of fountain pens.
He's a pen guy.
Oh my God, me too.
How many do you have?
Almost 1,000. But no, it's
you're-
different.
Do you
No,
see what
no,
kind-
no, no,
you
no,
see
no,
what
no,
kind
no,
of
no,
contest
no,
he
no.
throws
Then
under
you're
here?
a collector.
He's a collector.
He has one. Dell has one.
Well, I mean,
You know what? I'll share.
okay.
I'll bring some.
I'll show you right now. This is the one I carry with me.
Okay.
I'm sure you've seen a Coeco, haven't you?
Oh yeah, obviously.
All right. Well, see, it's a little portable Coeco. You see, it's very nice. I probably have like 50 or 60.
But no, see, mine are just goofy pens from places.
Yeah, he's
I've
like,
gone
Oh no,
to.
no, mine are actual.
Yeah, yours are really nice.
fountain.
Mine are
pens.
garbage.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired.
I have a lot of I have a lot of CDs.
I come over to his
Really?
house and he goes,
I have
this big.
probably 2,000 film scores,
Nice.
and then the classical stuff. I mean, I've got I know you with the shoes, but
I have a couple shoes.
Yeah, you have. I'm sure my shoes. Hey,
a couple of
So
shoes.
my shoes.
my shoes. Yeah, but I mean, Yeah, so that I mean, I don't know if I collect them, but I mean, I buy them because I want to listen to the
I think you
score.
definitely collect them.
And then, of course, every time I go over to La La Land, where they put out all my CDs, whatever CDs they put out, they go, "Oh, here's some of our new ones." I'm going like, "Oh man!"
And you have to get them.
Well, no, they give them to me.
Oh, well, even better.
Awesome.
I mean, that's how I've acquired so many.
Right.
But I have that. But no, I do. I've slowed down on the pens because I'm not a. There are I know guys who collect pens. I mean, $30,000 pens.
That's
Holy
insane.
cow.
That you don't load up with ink. You never write. You just wait for it to go to 35,000,
Yeah.
and then you sell it.
Yeah.
No, every
No, there's-
pen. I think I have maybe 2 pens that I've never put ink in, but everyone else. I mean, I've got a nice. I've got a Mont Blanc Senator that's probably like $1,000.
Yeah, no,
But I write with it. I use it.
like I think I probably got 1,000 pens, and they're all Bics, and it's probably worth about $8.
Yeah.
All of them.
I'm sure when you rummage through the drawer,
only-
there's a Chase Bank in there.
It's the only
There's
pen.
a Denny's.
Yeah, it's the only pen that came with a Pez dispenser.
Oh fuck! I wish. I wish. Well,
Yeah, there's some lady taking pictures.
I
of
know.
this.
I'm trying to avoid her.
One of those producer things.
I'm trying to avoid her.
Do it quickly.
Trying to be.
No, you didn't. No, you
Yeah,
didn't.
I
you
call,
wanna-
I
do you
call
wanna-
this one the thinker.
Do you want to spray my head so you don't get any good?
Wow. Okay.
Anyway, okay.
Right, man.
Are
Well,
we
I want to
done?
thank you for doing this.
This is an absolute
Okay.
pleasure, man.
Yeah, I
hopefully,
really
hopefully
appreciate
we
it.
threw you some stuff that you don't get to talk about.
There might
too
be
much.
something that you could use there, and
Maybe we'll see. I mean, we recorded for an hour. We probably got about a good 10-minute show.
thank you podmeisters.
He will. He'll whittle a promo out of it.
Yeah.
Somehow,
And no one knows.
No
who
one
they
knows
are.
what's going on.
No.
Okay. Well, hopefully you'll come back.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
Love
it.
that.
Thanks so much for your time.
Would you get him up here?
Until next time.
See you guys.